my uncle, who tells a story of when they were children. They'd walk sometimes at night past the cemetery.
Right.
And they always said that there was some scary old boogeyman out in the cemetery. And my uncle one day challenged this by walking up to the boogeyman and discovering it was nothing but a tree. In the night, in the dark, this tree looked like a person.
Sure. And to children, it's terrifying.
It had the kids terrified, and it was nothing. Well, a lot of times I think we can be fooled by things out in the woods and not know what's really happening out there. Once I was in the woods in the camping alone, and I heard steps that sounded like something stepping in dry leaves, and it took steps after step, and I thought something's out there walking. Well, I've encountered things walking in the woods before that were big and heavy. This thing sounded like a little lighter thing out there walking. I got a flashlight and I went to investigate what it was and found a great big bullfrog hopping through the leaves. It can easily sound like something that it's not.
Oh, yeah, and there we have armadillos that are an invasive species here in Florida, and those little things, all they're doing is they're rooting, they're rooting around, but they make a hell of a lot of noise. I've walked by and I've heard and I'm convinced there is some huge animal out here.
Yes.
And then oh my God, it's just a little freaking armadillo.
On our very first expedition to the Green Swamp,
right.
Kevin and myself went out and camped overnight in a very remote area along with Withlacoochee. The only animal we heard all night was one of those making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
They're noisy as can be.
Well, without revealing, one thing I learned you don't ever want to tell anybody your location. You can be specific. I mean, you can be vague, like we were in Central Florida or we were in the Green Swamp, but not really give your exact location. There's solid reasons for that. One is because the area could become compromised with interlopers going in there.
Certainly.
Yeah, or someone could go in there and set up some kind of a hoax. I'm not so worried about hoax, somebody going in and hoaxing as I am about going in there thinking I've got the area to myself and there's 35 people out there with pickup trucks and kegs of beer and they're going to make a big party all night, which equals noise. And my experience is when there's noise, there is nothing going on. Even the animals run away.
Well, you know, in the area we found our tracks, it's a popular place to camp, and only a few days before we got there, there was a number of Boy Scouts camping in the area.
Yes, you point that out on your website.
So, you know, it's already a compromised area in that sense.
Well, this is not a 12-year-old boy's footprint. I can tell you that for the camera, folks. You know.
Out in those swamps, you don't want to go barefoot, and I can't imagine anyone in their right mind going barefoot.
No, but I also go by the theory that if I can find my way out to somewhere and be standing on this spot, someone else could have.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I was at a campsite that you guys had some photographs of, that you walked out. You remember you hiked 3 miles out and came back? Okay, I had a 3-night expedition there. I call it an expedition. First night I was alone, and that was scary. You asked about, was I ever scared? Right at sunset, across the river, the little river there, where the tree made the natural bridge, do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, and was that you sitting on it?
No, it's actually a photo of our friend Kevin sitting on that tree.
That was Kevin sitting on the tree. Okay.
Actually, yes.
It was Kevin, all right. Right there, as the sun was setting, I could hear movement on the other side and tree limbs breaking. Something large was moving through, and it persisted for a while. The first night, I took some video going out. I would stop at a few places on the way out. By the time I got out to camp, the battery died in my camera. And I said, well, no problem. I've got an inverter for the cigarette lighter. Let me grab my cord. Open up the glove box, reach in where my cord's supposed to be, and it's not there. And it dawns on me, it's in one of my drawers at home. Oh my God, I can't believe this. But I had a Nikon digital SLR. And I said, well, I'm gonna have to take photos, so maybe I'll listen more and hear more. And I heard the movement, the twigs breaking, and then later that night I heard one of the best howls I've ever heard coming from way deep in the woods. and it was like a burst of 5. It was roo, 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 roo. I'm getting the hell out of here. I was by myself.
Yeah.
I got in the car and I left, actually. I was not going to camp out. I admit this to the world. I was too scared to tent camp that night. The reason is I was by myself. And I plead guilty to being a chicken, but I'm unarmed. And if you're laying there asleep on the ground in a little flimsy tent, you're vulnerable. And I don't know what the hell's going to walk up on me. And it may be some crazy guys who decided to go hunting in the middle of the night, who are on drugs or boozed up.
The most dangerous animal.
It's the most dangerous animal, man. So I got out of there. It convinced me that it would be really better to go with about 3 or 4 guys who have the same research goal in mind.
Oh yeah.
Because one thing they'll do, even though you got 3 or 4 guys together, is remain quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second night, these college students moved in, and they were loud, and they're playing the guitar around the campfire.
Yeah.
So I shift my location to another area to do night expedition. There were some trails I had found that I went in there. I was a good 1.5 miles away from the campers, so I didn't have to listen to them. And finished doing night ops. I tried howling, and I never did hear that animal again. I never did hear it again. I'm sure it's out there, and the key is just being very quiet. I'm convinced it's the noise that campers make that keep the animals away. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that.
Okay. Visit Tim Fasano's website, BigfootAfterDark.com.